is probably one of the biggest worries for us nowadays. The truth is that spiritual leaders, parents, politicians, educators worry not only on the crisis of values, but also in many cases about the absence of values that directly affects personal relationships and the vital development of any of us today. To understand, to the understanding of judgment of nobody escapes the fact that we are in a world of speed, of immediateness, and of capital. A world in which the interested exchange in commerce are barely the one and only possible relationship. But there exists a plethora of types of relationships far beyond that one. There is altruism, there is the uninterested help offered to the person in front of you because of her or his necessity. There is compassion, there is generosity, there is the pleasure to give away some space and benefits of friends, and in order to see her or him happy, to put ahead your own interests in exchange of those of your partner, of those of your children, and that your only reward would be to see the satisfaction on other people that your sacrifices produce. Maybe also the idea that you are contributing to other person's personal history, or maybe because it was not just by chance that your paths crossed. The relationships are often classified in primary and secondary, based on whether they are based on the person or based on the necessity of a service and of a function. All of them, regardless if they are primary or secondary, are born from a change, in fact. Maybe the problem is only the commercialization of them. A Spanish proverb says that no solo de pan vive el hombre, which translates to not only from bread can a man live. With this only commercial, when we reduce all our values and our relations to only these commercial relationships, this one overwhelms the whole set of possible human relationships, and then education is just barter, friendship is just barter, love is just barter, and marriage is just barter, and our life impoverishes, and we start to suffer an inner hollowness of which we do not know the origin, and which actually is so simple as the mere fact that our being has more facets and more necessities than those purely economic. We need art, we need theater, we need music, we need to share with others, we need to exert ourselves for goals. We need to feel we are useful. We need to believe in things bigger than ourselves, actually. Not to be able to give or to lend without obtaining interest because of these modern values, and not because these modern values don't allow you to do it, or to develop the idea that we can buy felicity, that we can buy our felicity, the felicity of others, that we can buy one another's will, we can buy knowledge, all kinds of knowledge, to buy rights, things and rights on persons to buy reality makes us makes one to start talking about himself as a character, not as a person, as a third person, and makes us start talking about others as objects, as just means for our goals. It is the reification and the objectification of relationships. I think values today pass through a kind of desert that is very much related with all this we are talking about. The effect of reducing relationships to only one of them, one of this one only commercial relation, transforms others in objects, but it also has a worse effect. When transforming us from a person to a character in our story, it impedes that you get close to the Socratic ideal of knowing yourself, and thus fulfilling yourself and fulfilling your personal history becomes an impossible enterprise. And that is everything. That your personal history is all that is here for you. They say Freud in his late years used to wonder himself and ask himself about the fact that we are constantly insisting on looking for happiness, and worse that after insisting we normally feel surprised when we reach it. This is why I think this is why the absence of spiritual north is sign of our times. Only with the proliferation of all kinds of proposals that try to fill the void of an spiritual north, of an spiritual guidance. Some of us find refuge in science, some of us find refuge in material success, other on modern tribes. There is a growing tendency to create tribes, and others maybe in a fanatic belonging to a sport team or even nation. But all of them lack of the real spiritual gene of a spiritual content, because they are just adaptations of a material origin, and primarily they lack of the needed sacredness that Mircea Eliade used to defend on his books. That every spiritual proposal needs in order to be felt as transcendent, as beyond, as bigger than ourselves. I think this is probably at the core of the lack of values in nowadays world. I have considered to include this question on this interview because I see this topic as very much related to the previous one. In addition to the fact that it is about a very, very so important topic. What worries me the most about youth and about young people and education is the process of regression that is happening with the development of new generations at levels intellectual, cognitive, and even of knowledge. More and more, if we observe, it is happening a simplification on the perspective, a reduction of visions, a growing introspection and mental and emotional isolation. I think at the same time we are coming back. No, we are coming back, or letting or the new generation come back to passions and primary desires, more animal and more primitive, and even defending them, defending these approaches as more authentic being, as a more natural way of being, a more natural human expression. And it is more me when I'm giving a free ride to my passion, to my passions. I am being more authentic, more me, and it's a more authentic way of expressing my inner truths, or the inner truths in me. Thus, and by greed, manifestations of force, and more are more and more part of the collective intellect. It is normal, it is common, it is actually socially awarded that I can confront and even try to destroy other people, or another one in a determined and successful self-expression. And I really think that this is starting to be part of young people's reality, and they are becoming more self-centered, and this is quite alarming. I think a conflict has traditionally been seen as a difference in positions, and the dynamism coming out from this difference in position has always been used to arise an opportunity of improvement for both parts in conflict. A confrontation, on the contrary, could be defined as a situation of conflict, but with the finality, with the objective to overpower and to give end to the counterparty, to arrive to the other party's annihilation. I'm afraid that the presence of this way of seeing things is so common nowadays that we can see it on the growing presence of bullying, on the lack of respect for companions, for teachers, on the resurrection of ancient behaviors like sexism, and after all, it is a lack of respect and consideration of the other person. On the contrary, vanity and badly understood personal expression is given space to these behaviors that undermine the way of young people to become happy and innerly successful persons, adult persons. All this is actually a bigger trapping of the mind, and this trapping of the mind is creating generations of people weaker than the preceding ones, simpler in their perspective, in their mental and spiritual development, and far more easy to manipulate. Education should probably lead to the opposite direction, to be more personalized, in the sense of being centered in that which is better for everyone's personal history. Nowadays, systematic and egalitarianistic, monolithic industrial administration of education which may be influenced by traditional mentoristical master-pupil personalized approach. I really think that this is a lesson from ancient traditions that we could really introduce on educational system, which actually has achieved the democratization of education, which is quite good, but it has been industrialized, and its administration is never more personalized, and we are so different one from each other. So personalization and a mentor scheme of education probably should be introduced in an intelligent and economic manner. According to the etymology, an idiot is that one that only takes care of his or her own affairs, of himself. That one that I literally neglects the dimension beyond himself, and all those dimensions that go far beyond of his own reality. That socially mutilated and thus destined to fail areas of beyond himself, never able to transcend, to grow his or her closed world. Then we are being testimony of a process of educating idiots in that sense, and it's quite alarming because we see many young people looking for glory, for recognition, for the star shine, with an idiot attitude, objectifying others, and this is by definition a try destined to failure. The use of force is actually not force. This socially awarded strong position is not real. It's not real force. Flexibility is force. To be tough when needed and to be smooth when required. The world of cinema and video games is always, as always has been art, just a fantasy, a projection of dreams, and a world beginning and ending on a dialogue of oneself with oneself fantasies is forging generations with just quixotic realities. You know that Quixote of Cervantes that thought that he was living a reality which had no actual relation with true reality. So this is probably what we are, or the most worrying influence on young people in this kind of immediate and rapid reality, virtual reality we are living today. Personal affirmation and expression. Learning to say no. I think I have already given on the previous questions some of the central ideas on my thought on this topic. To have to learn to say no is probably just a symptom of the lack of emotional skills, of values, of guiding spirituality that we have today. And it is not the biggest challenge. After learning to say no, it probably would come the necessity of learning to say yes, which is actually much more difficult than learn to say no. I think the only irreproachable way, or the only irreproachable path to personal expression, one not coming out of confrontation with others, it's just fulfilling your personal history, fulfilling your path, your own way on life, to realize your inner energy and to become what you want to become. Submerged as we are in a whirlwind of necessity, of the necessity of being strong, to be someone and to be capable of saying no. And as I said before, we put the center of our action in others, and we actually live through other people's life and goals, and often actually no one's goals, since those that we believe to be the one's perfect goals are no more than the product of the dynamism of collectivity. We have achieved its own life, but actually they are not no person's goals. They are just imagination, collective imagination products that have a right to have their own life and their own reality. Every path is good. Every path is good as long as it is your path. And there is no, we like to say that there is no better school than the school you need. So probably everyone is in a search today, and life constantly asks questions to test if we are capable, not only to see things as they really are, which is quite hard to see, but even more to face them, and yet again even more to harmonize with them. To learn hurts, and it hurts a lot, and to express yourself, to be yourself, hurts even more. And I wish it would only be as easy as to learn to say no, to follow our path, and not to live through other people's eyes and visions is the real challenge. And at the same time, it is to do it with compassion and being compassionate, which is actually the contrary of this, which is actually the contrary of seeing things through other people's eyes. You have to learn to be yourself, to fulfill your personal history, not living through other people's eyes, but understanding life through other people's life. And this is probably the, as I was saying before, the only legal way to express yourself without confronting others, without trying to overwhelm other people's reality and to impose your ego over the others.